You're crazy. Am I? Yes. Am I? Yes. Am I?
Marxism. I want to know, exactly what was wrong with Karl Marx's ideology, which we call Marxism today. Because it seems to me that, in observations, that people have started to throw this word Marxism about willy-nilly, right? And it kind of makes me wonder if they know what it means, or I don't know what it means, right? And I know a lot of you are going to say that, well, you don't have a clue what you're on about, right? But let me break it down, or let me kind of give you my version of what it is, because it seems to me that, like I says, when you of recent you see these people having debates online, or you hear news reports, or something's happened, like for example Alicia Dixon came out with a Black Lives Matter t-shirt necklace on, and in the comments, oh, Black Lives Matter all Marxist terrorist organization XYZ. Now, I'm not denying that there's something dodgy about Black Lives Matter, the online organization, as in, who you can then donate money to. And it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if it was run by some white guy like Charlie Kirk. I'm not saying that it is, but it wouldn't surprise me. And you got 3 black women to put the front up for it, and in that way they can create all the mayhem they want, and black people get the blame for it, because that's how just devious some people are, you know what I mean? But sticking to Marxism and why I think it's not exactly a bad thing, or why I can't see why people look at it as some kind of extreme wrong, because like I said, it seems to be the new buzzword. It's Marxism this, you're a Marxist that. Right. So obviously I had to go and do some research on Marxism, and look at it, and okay, I can tell you that, Karl Marx was born in 18 something, and he was a German guy, and he was a philosopher, and so forth and so on. But that's the kind of thing you could do for yourself, But what I looked at, right, and when I kind of broke down the different perspectives that people had, right, I came to this in my own conclusion from reading and watching videos and finding out about him and what his ideals were. In my own crude way, or in my own conclusion, I came up with I concluded, that all he was about is, I want to say he was a socialist, as in like spread all the wealth and everyone's equal and all that. But what he did was, he kind of like pointed out the flaws in capitalism in a capitalist way. Excuse the sirens. And what he was kind of pointing out is that, if I have to put an analogy to it, he was saying that in a capitalist system, in people which we kind of live in, is that the people who own stuff, like for example, if you own the land and the seeds, as a person who grows a product, you could employ people to create a product, and then once you sell that product on, you get to keep all the profits, and then you decide how much you want to give the employees, right? And back in them times, what it was is that in a system of that kind of build up, what you'd find is that through human nature and greed, those who could make the maximum profit would try and pay as little as they could to everybody else in order to maximize their profit. And in a nutshell, or the shortest version possible, what Karl Marx's value is that, look, society would be better off if the wealth, or the distribution, I don't want to say distribution of wealth, because people just go mad when you hear that, but if those who made the money or made the profit, if they were more or less fairer, that's a word, fairer in how they distributed it, you know what I mean? So think of it more like a happy worker is a good worker. Think of it like that way. You pay someone a decent wage, they're not going to mumble and they're not going to mumble and complain so much. They still might not like the work, but at least they feel they're getting a decent, something decently, a decent reward for what they've done. Whilst the person who owns the rights to the product, or whatever, can still make a shed load of money. And for me, that's in a nutshell, that's what he was talking about, right? Or that's what his ideals were, right? So that kind of got me thinking now, yeah? Check my notes, right? In the situation of, let's say, someone talking about Black Lives Matter and the sentiment behind Black Lives Matter, which was the injustice, yeah? Using Karl Marx and using the term "you're a Marxist" in this way kind of has me baffled now, right? Because, like I said, if his premise or the premise behind his values is that those who are being exploited by the few, right, dare to challenge the few, dare to challenge them, I don't see what's wrong with that. If you're in a position, if you feel that you're being exploited, yeah. So for example, look at the NHS, yeah, right? The MP decided to give themselves 10 grand a year extra for being on lockdown, right? Yeah. Whilst at the same time, they're telling the NHS, the firemen and the policemen, right, that they should take a pay freeze, right? And this might affect their pension or whatever, or asking some of them actually to leave their job, right? Now, if you were on the side of supporting the NHS and the firemen and say, no, that's not fair, that ain't right, does that make you a Marxist? Yeah? Because for me personally, I don't see why you wouldn't want to support the NHS rather than think about the few MPs lining their own pockets, right? So now I'm thinking, when you look at someone who's going to start throwing out, oh, Black Lives Matter, or people who support Black Lives Matter are all Marxists, yeah, and they support a Marxist terrorist group. I look at it now, I'm starting to see it now as, hold on, what are you saying? Because now, for you to say that someone's a Marxist, that puts you, in this case, in the position of power, or you see yourself as a person in the position of power, and the person that you're calling a Marxist is challenging your authority or challenging your position, and you don't like that, and you want to keep it the status quo, right? So, if that's what your intention is, or if that's what you mean by that when you say that someone's a Marxist, yeah, then I can't agree with that. Yeah, and I see that as a person who's going to start throwing out or bantering out everyone's Marxist, Black Lives Matter, Marxist, so on and so forth, right? They themselves, in my opinion, yeah, are equal to those rich people, yeah, who want to make more profit for themselves while they say fuck everybody else, yeah. And now that, to be fair, that might not be what they mean, right? Or, like I said, I could be totally wrong with how I interpret Marxism, right? But this is where you have to let me know in the comments below, right? Because for me personally, right, now that I've kind of researched it and I kind of see people throwing this, Marxism, that, and they don't, and for me, I don't understand why they would say such a thing when based on my interpretation of what Marxism is, yeah, I just find it bizarre. Because I think that anyone should be able to challenge authority or challenge power or people in positions of power if they feel that they've been an unjust act has been put upon them, or they feel that they've been oppressed, or they feel that they've been exploited in any way. Yeah, and for you to say, "Oh, that's Marxist," or you're being a Marxist, basically you're telling them to shut up. Yeah. And you want to keep it the way you are, keep it the way it is, because you're on that side of the fence, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below, yeah. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'm out. Peace.
Yes. Am I? Yes. Am I? Yes.